Hi, this is a video review of my good friend Vivek Agnihotri's latest book, Who Killed Shastri. We all watched the movie, and now he has come up with this book, Who Killed Shastri. Uh, Typically there is a book, and then there's a movie. Um, and here we have a situation where we have the movie and then the book. So, you would ask, how does this work? You also have situations wherein you have a classic that's a classic movie, and then you have a documentary on the making of that classic. Well, Who Killed Shastri is a combination of these two. It is the movie Tashkent Files. We've all seen. We've appreciated, one of the finest movies. And this book, Who Killed Shastri, is about the making of that movie. But more importantly, it's actually a book. I would call it as a book in the spiritual genre, because it's actually the making of Vivek, and less about the movie, because in the process of making this movie, he himself is transformed, and his spiritual awakening has happened. The three elements to this book, one is about Lal Bahadur Shastri and the mystery behind his death. So there's details about that. The second is the actual anecdotes about an actual story about researching for the book and researching for the film and then making the film. Tripti, Doxa, Pallavi, Vivek, all the four members, and how they work towards making that movie. So you have that narrative. But the more important narrative, and that's why I call this as a spiritual book, is how Vivek's father has influenced him through his diary, and the way he deftly weaves various quotations, various diary notes of his father, and integrates that into this book is something which is very, very touching. When you actually read the book, you will see it's a very, very creatively weaving together these three strands of the book. So I read it very in one go, in the sense that in read it very fast in 2 days time, and it was an overwhelming feeling for me personally, because way back on 10th of May 2016, I reached out to Vivek, and I'll just read out from that email. So I write to him on May 10th, 2016. Vivek, I just got this idea. Why don't we publish a book on the making and marketing of Buddha in a traffic jam? The whole experience of making the movie and marketing it the way you have done is something unique. No other filmmaker had to go through what you have done. After a month or so from now, when you have some respite from all the travel, we can have a writer from our group who will spend some time with you, interviewing you and taking down notes, and it can be produced as an as told to travelogue kind of a book. A narration of the whirlwind of experiences you went through. It will be a case study in itself and will also be a huge boost to the narrative. Thoughts? This was the mail that I sent to him on 10th May. Subsequently, we got chatting, and then I was more and more convinced that he should write a book. And then I packed him off, and I said, look, if you're going to stay in Goa, if you're going to stay in Bombay, you're not going to write this book. You need a break, and take a break, and go to a place. We looked at different options, and then I said, go. So he spent 15 days in Goa, and then he wrote the first draft of Urban Excels, and then after some more time, he finished the draft. And that we all know what happened to that. So it's a classic. It's probably the first book on the non-left side talking about the left, and it's truly it's become a meme. It's become even Prime Minister Narendra Modi used that term. So it's now a part of our common lexicon, and that's history that was created, and that was a journey again from that idea that you need to write a book about the making of Buddha in traffic jam, and that resulted in Urban Excel. And then he then with one single tweet about October 2nd and Lal Bahadur Shastri's birthday, and then the whole journey of this Tashkent files and this book resulted in this book. I'm extremely proud of what Vivek has been able to achieve. He's there on social media. He's there now. He has a VRA TV. He's doing his school for creativity. I mean, his energy levels are extraordinary. I mean, I can't even. Uh, I have not seen anybody else who is so multifaceted. He's doing so many things, and yet be creative. Because what happens if you're on the social media, you're facing all kinds of abusive trolls or whatever that happens there. And so if you want to be creative, then you need to cut that emotion out there, and then again regenerate yourself. I personally am not capable of that kind of thing, and I find that quality in him. He's authentic. He's very authentic. I mean, if you read this book, you will see his voice. You will hear his voice. You'll hear his father's voice flowing through him. So that's the kind of authenticity he brings to it, and then he's extraordinarily creative. This whole thing about the climax of the Tashkent files, the way it was constructed, and the kind of thinking that had to go through, and he was not getting the ideas, because any movie and any story, we need to have, it's a three-part structure for any movie. So you have the opening, the middle, the closing, and then you have to have a conflict, and the resolution of the conflict. So that's a standard kind of thing. And he was grappling with this for quite some time as to where is the conflict, where's the resolution. We don't know who is. It's a who done it, but we don't know who has done it. So how do we end it? And finally, in this entire journey, he comes up with this framework of right to truth. I mean, that's an extraordinary, it's an extraordinary, very, very deep and profound statement. And I think the right to truth, right? It's not right to information, it's right to truth. And I think that's a very, very profound realization, a moment of epiphany that he had. And then the way he, there's pressure, how do we resolve this? We are so far down, and then he comes up with this climax, and then he ends the film. It's just an extraordinary experience, and just to understand that journey, that creative journey, the spiritual journey, this book you should read. Even though you have seen the movie and you love the movie, that's fine. But this book you should read to understand the creative and spiritual journey of a person, and the inner transformation that you can actually feel. So I very strongly urge you to go ahead and buy a copy. We are going to actively promote this book on behalf of Indian Book Club. Also, we are sending it to a curated list of people, and I think this is a classic. Tashkent Files was a classic. Who Killed Shastri is a classic too, and this should be the bestseller for weeks to come. I mean, everybody who is interested in changing who is interested in seeing a change in the narrative should actually read it, because The other thing that I constantly tell people to get off social media, because it's a conspiracy by the left to ensure that we all are busy and not using our time productively. This is something. This book will give you a perspective on how you can transform yourself. I constantly keep saying that don't seek to change the narrative, seek to transform the narrator. And in this instance, you can actually see the narrator, Vivek, uh, getting transformed, and you can actually feel it, you can see it, you can hear it, and it's an amazing journey. So please, all of you should get inspired and have your own stories, and you should seek to transform yourself. And when the first copy of Urban Excels was released, was out, he wrote a nice sort of note for me, and he said, "Everybody needs a hurry in his life, and I found mine." I think I want to put it back to Vivek and saying that everybody needs Viveka, the ability to discriminate, their time and usage of time, and how to transform themselves, discriminate between the real and the unreal. So the social media and all that is unreal, and what is real is actually the inner journey, and that Viveka, through this book you will find. So I encourage all of you to buy this book and read this book and make it a cult classic all over again. Thank you.